we don't do that in volleyball. We don't just go forwards, backwards, left, right, right? We go in angles and around in circles. So you have to train that. And if you only squat and you only deadlift and you only lateral lunge, well, you're not really training appropriately for volleyball. A lot of the problems with a lot of people, and what I realized was I just didn't have the stability to be able to put on the weight to jump high. So to be able to create stability around my hips, and knees, that allowed me to lift more weights, which allowed me to generate more power, which allowed me to jump higher.
You have your two favorite exercises too, because for me, like I hate turning it back to me. Sorry. Like I've got like a lot of low back problems, so I understand instability, but you said around your knees and your core. What are your just two go-to exercises to increase stability so that you can lift heavy weights safely?
Yeah, so you think about single leg exercises in that case, right? So like a single leg RDL with even no weight or a super light kettlebell is a great exercise. And for me, like a lateral lunge or Bulgarian split squat, those are functional. You can get even like non-functional, like if you have no stability, you're looking at like just trying to get your glutes firing, like your side lying leg raises or your band work with monster walks, things like that, right? That's even lower level. But if we're talking like you've already got that, single leg exercises are where there's a little bit of challenge on that stability to keep everything in line. That's where you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck. And then once you kind of develop that stability, you can start to stack on some serious weight. And now you're split squatting or RDLing with a lot of weight, requiring a lot of stability, but you're also going to generate a lot of strength from it. A lot of the times I have metrics, right? I have how fast I'm able to lift stuff. So when it comes to primary exercises like squatting or deadlifting, I'm taking velocity measurements and I'm lifting a lighter weight, but trying to maintain a fast velocity. And I'm trying to maintain that velocity over the course of a season. I'm by no means am I like squatting or deadlifting like max or like 90% of my 1 rep max for reps or anything like that. That's off season stuff. On season's about staying healthy, but creating the stimulus you need to stay strong. So again, you might be lifting in a different way. You might be doing single leg stuff instead of double leg stuff because you're still going to get that stimulus to stay strong, but you're not putting yourself at risk for like overdoing it type thing. And then when it comes to recovery, like recovery is the name of the game for me. As much as I lift weights and we talk about that, like I spend just as much time trying to recover as I do lifting weights. Like I sleep in compression socks every single night because I know it helps with my recovery because I have the data. I'm using Normatex. I'm stretching, like my wife and I have in the basement, we call it the stretch cave. We watch like 45 minutes of TV a little bit before bed and we just stretch. Like we have the guns, we have every type of foam roller and stuff down there and we just get after it for 45 minutes because I know I'll be better the next day because of it. And like, I have to be honest, there's days where I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this. And it's horrible the next day. Like it's just with the volume of work that we're putting in, you have to do it because if you don't, you're going to be busted. One of the problems with the gym, and what's super interesting is every country works out differently, right? But I think one of the challenging parts is that I've kind of gotten into historically is working just in two planes, like just in frontal, forwards and backwards, or sagittal, sideways. But we don't do that in volleyball. We don't just go forwards, backwards, left, right? We go in angles and around in circles. So you have to train that. And if you only squat and you only deadlift and you only lateral lunge, well, you're not really training appropriately for volleyball. So, with your big I call them primary exercises. If you're doing your primary exercises, yeah, they're going to be your squat, your deadlift, like they're going to be static, but you need to add in more dynamic work so that you don't just become really good at squatting, deadlifting, and lateral lunging, because that's what will happen. And when you get outside of that pattern, your body will just be like, I don't really know what's going on. The biggest, most obvious thing to cut for me at that time was like bench press. I was benching a lot, like a few times a week, all the time with a bar. And, since I started to make that transition, I haven't bench pressed in like 5 years.
Been like 3 for me. The last time I felt a tweak in my shoulder and I was like, nah, forget it. Light dumbbells. I'll just like do like fast push-ups, whatever.
Yeah, like I do believe that, horizontal pushing has its place in volleyball. I just don't believe bench press is the most effective way to do that. Nor do I think like flat dumbbell chest press is a good idea either. We just, from like a mechanical standpoint, a lot of people aren't doing that super technically proficiently, where we can get that stimulus some other way. Like, even an incline dumbbell chest press is going to be better if you, like, we're humans, and this probably the male population is more interested in doing incline dumbbell chest press than female population. And I get it. Like, aesthetically, it's a good exercise. When it comes to volleyball performance, I would say, like, shave a good 50-60% off the amount you're doing it. And that's probably a healthy range. Your bang for your buck exercises are going to be, you're going to be doing squat variations. And that really depends on what type of athlete you are. Are you quad dominant? Are you hamstring dominant? Like, what type of jumper are you? Are you going to be doing front squats? Are you going to be doing back squats? Are you going to Bulgarian split squat? Because, guys who squat the world, for example, it doesn't make sense to go out and squat, 400-500 pounds for reps. You're just going to likely trash your back. So you might as well Bulgarian split squat, get that stimulus on one leg, and do it in a lot safer environment, right? Like, for me, I've got a pretty solid deadlift, but it doesn't make sense for me to go and deadlift near max percentages. It makes way more sense to change the variable and create a stimulus that has a similar response, but is a lot safer. And again, like, do I do arms? Definitely. Is doing arms in general good for volleyball? No. But if you know what you're doing, you can create crossover to the sport. Like, we're looking at a ton of external rotation. Okay, well, how do you do biceps in external rotation? Well, you put yourself on a decline bench or an incline bench, and you do them in external rotation and extension. And now you're actually strengthening that tendon across the front of the shoulder, instead of just, like, smash and hammer curls, which isn't doing anyone any good. You're looking at doing tricep pull downs. That doesn't cross over to volleyball at all, right? But yeah, you do it behind the head in external rotation, and you get upward rotation of the scapula. Okay, now you're talking somewhat volleyball related. But when it comes to jumping, you got your Olympic lifts, you got your squatting variations, and you got your deadlift variations. After I graduated Queens, I did a 2-year master's program at Western University for physical therapy. So I didn't play for 2 years straight, and I just hammered the gym. And that's where I started to figure out what the gym actually was and how to get strong properly, because I joined the Western gym team. I went from playing 7 days a week to having no volleyball. So I joined the gym team, and these guys taught me how to squat, they taught me how to bench, and they taught me how to deadlift. And that's where real strength gains started to happen. And then I started playing with Grant, and I was 230 when I started with him. And it probably wasn't until 2016 that I was able, that's 4 years later, that I was able to undo all the crappy work I did and turn it into actual volleyball specific mass. Because before, I was just strong. I was strong and I could move heavy things. And the good thing was, it made me jump way higher. Like, in university, I was touching, I'm glad you guys don't do inches. Like, you do 370 spike touch or whatever it might be, right?
No, we do inches.
We do inches.
Perfect. So this is even more embarrassing. So in university, my team, or the team that I was on, won the league 3 out of the 5 years I was there. The other 2 years we got second. I never touched higher than 10'8", and I was a starting player. Yeah.
Wow.
I jumped higher than that.
Never higher than 10'8".
And I was jumping for nothing.
So then I stopped playing volleyball, worked out like crazy for 2 years, came back without ever touching a ball, and touched 11.5. So it was I was way heavier, but I was using the power and strength that I developed and was able to transition it to jump higher.